Jake, Underhill raised this specter yesterday, and it's kind of tough to argue with now. Yes, the New Orleans Saints are 5-4. Yes, if the playoffs would start today, they'd be the second wild card spot. Yes, they've beaten the Packers, they've beaten the Patriots.
Play the Cowboys. That set up some great stuff.
So the point is, the Saints are. It's early in the year. The picture is completely muddled. Yet the Saints are in a pretty good position of power. Not the worst in terms of being 5-4, being the second wild card as it stands today. But Jake, and maybe this is just the nature of how you lost the last two games bleeding in, because the kind of context of games that you felt like you should have had won or maybe had a better chance to win, you end up losing. It feels like you just put yourself in a position you didn't need to be. But the margin of error is starting to feel really, really thin. And so when you look at this Eagles game this Sunday, even though we are, I guess we just crossed the halfway point, right, with the ninth game, now that we're into the full 17-game season, it might be a bit of an exaggeration to call this Sunday a must-win already, but it's getting damn close. And the reasons are a couple. First off, the very muddy picture in the NFC. The Saints had a chance to be clearly, like we made a video about this last week, they had a chance to separate themselves and be a part of the haves, not the have-nots, right? Like they could have been in the penthouse. They could have been in the 3-loss club up there, 7-3, sitting pretty. But instead, they find themselves down there in the muck. And, I mean, look at this. You're talking about the Eagles, the 11th seed at 4-6, and the Saints are the 6th seed at 5-4. I mean, there's not a lot of separation there. You're playing that Eagles team. So this win, if they win this Sunday, they gain a full game on you, and they are right back in the thick of it. Whereas if you win, you could almost potentially eliminate the Eagles. But the other reason why it's a must-win, because look at the Saints' upcoming schedule.
Yeah.
You got Bills next, which is going to be awesome in the Dome. Then you got Cowboys of that, going to be awesome in the Dome again. And then you got the Jets, which should be fine. But
then you're on the road to Tampa.
Yeah, you can't really afford to let the Philly opportunity slip by like you did last year. And it really hurt you last year in playoff seed. It ended up kind of forcing you down roads that you didn't necessarily want to have to go down. So,
right.
Because you were taken out of the 1-seed conversation. So I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and yell that it's going to be impossible to make the playoffs without getting this game, but I do think it's going to feel significantly tougher. And also at that point, a loss is 3 losses in a row, and it'll feel like, okay, maybe the Jameis injury really was the end of the season. You now have no Mike Thomas coming back. Like the potential for actual tangible, you have a tangible need to win in terms of playoff standings. I think you also have a psychological need to win in terms of not letting this thing snowball badly.
Yeah, because you're still in okay position. You're still in the postseason.
Yeah.
The season ended, all those things you said. And we could go back and we could say, oh, my gosh, you lost to the Falcons. You lost to the Giants. You lost to the Panthers, which I don't think the Panthers' loss is as bad as we probably made it out to be because they were in that rough stretch. They're still 5-5. But you lost some games. But you can also flip it on its head. You beat the Packers away from home because it was a home game, but it wasn't. You beat the Buccaneers. You've had some wins, too, that nobody gave you a chance to win those games. And so you're still okay. Trevor Siemian right now is playing good football. I know you mentioned Jameis getting hurt, but look at Trevor Siemian's stats from last week. And Nick Underhill told us he is 2 Kevin White passes away from being at 350 last week.
Bro, that one Kevin White ball, I didn't even realize it live at the time, but it hit his shoulder. It was a perfectly thrown ball. I feel bad. Kevin White just can't catch.
Probably why he didn't last long as a top 10 pick, but Trevor Siemian right now is doing enough to win games, okay? And then you sprinkle in the Taysom Hill package. He threw 2 attempts, and we know what Taysom's going to be now. You get Alvin Kamara back. Receiver, it is what it is. We understand that.
And they're trying out receivers. I guess
Left and right.
Jalen McCleskey saw a headline where he was back, the old Tulane player, and he was one of many wide receivers being tried out.
Yeah, Cody Core, I believe, was one of them as well, the Ole Miss Rebel. But so that part of it is what it is. But you were still in a game against Tennessee on the road. That's a playoff team that's leading the AFC right now, and you had every opportunity to win that game. In fact, you're missed extra points away from winning that game. So it's
third time in NFL history.
They're still like a team that is playing and staying in these contests with chance to win. And the defense is a majority of the reason. But it's not like doomsday. Like,
Okay. Talk
now-
me off the ledge a little bit. 'Cause
now
I'm
that-
feeling a little doomsday snowball potential here.
This is a game that you want to go and win because you feel like you're the better team. Now, the Saints remember what happened against the Eagles last year, right? They realized that they hadn't given up a 100-yard rusher in 50-something games. They gave up 2 in this one game. So Dennis Allen, the game plan is going to be much different than it was the last time you played this opponent. If you win this game, you're 6-4 and you're fine.
You're fine. You're completely fine if you win the game. You're completely fine if you win the game.
With all the things that have gone on, if I said in the first 10 games you'll have a winning record, and I'm going to tell you everything that's going to happen in between, you're like, by God,
First off,
I'll
I'd be
take
like,
that.
whoa, why are you being so negative? You really think all that stuff's going to happen?
Right.
Like, what? Like, all those guys are going to get hurt? Really?
I
Mike Thomas is even going to return for the entire year? Like, bro, has there ever been an ankle injury that has lasted this long? If you really stop and think about it, we're on 2 years of the same ankle injury. It's wild. And I'm not even saying that I'm saying that from an observational standpoint, more so than anything, right? Because I get, he tried to tough it out year one, then they made it worse. I don't know why did he get surgery immediately. It's just very weird to think about an ankle injury sidelining your best player for 2 years now at this point. So you're right. You would take 6-4 though. Absolutely take 6-4. I guess the problem would be if you lose, then you're 5-5. And at that point, the Eagles are 5-6. As it stands today, Panthers are 5-5, Vikings 4-5, Niners 4-5, Falcons 4-5. So there's a lot of people. This is going to be a just like mud wrestling. I mean, this is going to be a scrap now with that extra wild card spot to see who gets in at number 7. And the Saints may be involved in that.
With the way the NFL's gone this year, it's hard to predict. I mean, the Cowboys are a team that I saw on ESPN this morning. That's why I got up and changed the channel because I couldn't see it again. Talked about the Cowboys being in Tier 1 Super Bowl contender. Wow. Right now they're a 3 seed in the NFC. They just got housed by the Broncos.
Yeah, they did.
Absolutely housed. Okay, so this year it's just a lot of unpredictable moments. The Ravens got housed by the Dolphins just last week.
Yeah.
The Bills lost to the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those years in the NFL. So you almost feel fortunate that the Saints are 5-4 right now with an opportunity against a team that I think they're better than to go 6-4.
What do you think about Jalen Hurts? I feel like him and Sirianni have been playing better
I think
lately.
with the right coach and with the right personnel around him, I think he can be very effective.
It seems like, I'm just looking at his game log.
He didn't draft Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Front office did that.
Yeah.
He's not good.
They drafted a wide receiver over Jets. I don't remember that.
It was like the pick before Mario. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple picks.
2 picks before. Jalen Reagor.
Oh, my God. Versus a guy who's literally had the best start to an NFL career for any wide receiver of all time.
Of all time.
Well, that's pretty wild. I guess the thing about Hurts is it looks like lately, and there's definitely something to look for Sunday. And granted, they've been playing from a lead, so that's an influencing factor as well. But they've won 2 out of the last 3, and it looks like lately Sirianni's just done a better job of, like, if you look at his pass attempts early on, I'm looking at, like, in losses, like 39, 48, 37, 34, right? And then you look at the last 3 games in which they won 2 and barely lost to the Chargers. He attempted 14 passes against the Lions, 17 against the Chargers, and 23 against Denver. Now, those are games that, Chargers, that was a battle. But those are the games where they weren't having to play from behind, so that is an explaining factor. But it does seem like Sirianni is getting more and more used to the advantages of Jalen Hurts and how to use him. I mean, he had 10 attempts against San Diego. He had 14 attempts against Denver on the ground. And so I just get worried because last year, that great Saints rush defense, for whatever reason, they just couldn't contain Hurts. Although I think that probably works in the Saints' favor. Because you're not going to catch him sleeping again.
Right.
Like there was probably an element of cockiness last year going into that game. You thought you were a much better team, and they just kind of snuck one on you.
I agree with you, and they're finding who they can count on. The Eagles are as far as running backs, receivers, tight end, and obviously they got a concussion injury there, so we'll see if he's available to go. But once I said Jalen Reagor, I kind of got caught into his career so far. 53 catches.
Who is Jalen?
567 yards. This year he has 171 yards on 22 catches, 7.8. So 53 for 567, 3 touchdowns. Jets, 143 catches for 2,175 yards, 15 yards per catch, and 11 touchdowns.
Damn, I just Googled Jalen Reagor and the first two headlines. Jalen Reagor insignificant once again in Week 10, and Jalen Reagor targeted only twice in win. So, but there's a bunch of articles about like how Philly fans hate Jalen Reagor and love Devontae Smith.
So
why they did draft Devontae Smith?
They did back-to-back years, but I'm kind of saying like they're figuring out that they're not forcing it to like guys like Jalen Reagor because they drafted him in the first round anymore. Like that's what when you watch the offense, they're like, okay, we ain't doing this. We've got who we want. Like Jordan Howard's somebody that's come back to this team as well. Like so they got him and they're feeding him the ball at running back. And it's like, okay, we don't care where you're drafted. We don't care how much money you're making. Now we're just going to go with the weapons that we have, and they've been playing better because of it.
Well, I hope that look, I think that Jalen Hurts, though, while I've given him credit for a better run of play lately, like the Saints defense and Dennis Allen, I think will feast this Sunday, right? Or I shouldn't say right, Jake. If you had to choose who had an advantage in that matchup between Philly's offense and the Saints defense,
I think it's the Saints defense.
Yeah.
If I'm Dennis Allen, knowing what you did against me in the run game, I'm doing stacking the box. I'm putting guys closer to the line of scrimmage, whatever you want to do, and I'm trusting in my defensive backs to be able to cover their receivers. All right, Lattimore, you're following Devontae Smith across the field.
That's crazy. I guess you're right. We're going to see Lattimore versus Devontae Smith battle.
I'm excited about that one.
Devontae Smith's been balling too. Three
He's been
touchdowns.
balling, bro.
3 touchdowns.
Catch he had
two
last
games.
week was nice.
Yeah, and I mean, and he's interesting because we've seen Lattimore shut down plenty of big guys, right? But how do you think he'll do against the little speedster? Kind of it's a little bit of a different challenge, or no?
No, I mean it is. It's just different challenge. Doesn't mean it's not an unattainable challenge.
Oh yeah,
And he
no,
can-
for sure.
Yeah, the way Lattimore's playing, I put him up against anybody. And y'all know I was critical of putting him in the top 5 corners before the year. He's in there now. He has been one of the few people that gets paid his money and actually raises his level of play. Right? There's some other people on this roster, but certainly all rosters, they get paid and their level of play because the attention to detail goes way down.
Yeah.
And the grit and the toughness and all those things.
Yeah, that's why like you turned down like multiple $15 million contracts back in the day, right? Because you were like, I need to keep my edge, and if you try to soften me up by paying me $15 million a year, what am I going to do? That's you're a man of principle, Jake. I appreciate that.
No, I played the worst position in the worst sport for making money.
Yeah, that is
play 6 years.
Actually, that is true. That is like a great trivia question. Could you play? And I'm not talking about like bullpen catcher or anything like that. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
on the
saying like
roster.
major league on the roster. Are deep snappers? Do they make less
At a
than
minimum.
fullbacks? Okay,
Yeah,
okay. So
so,
there,
yeah.
okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So at least we're a deep snapper, right? Pull back right after that.